Hello, welcome to this session. It's lovely to see you here. So, today I wanted to talk to you all about that sneaky little block that comes up. Actually, it's not really a little block, it can be quite a big block that comes up, but it sneaks up on us in really subtle ways. So, I want to talk to you more about the working hard for money block. Now, I wonder if you can identify whether this block is already present within you or not. And even if you say no to that, even if you think to yourself, oh, no, this doesn't apply to me, I wonder when I talk to you through some of the common scenarios that I see it showing up, whether or not you might identify that maybe it's in there running the show deep, deep down in your subconscious mind and you did not actually realize it. That actually happened to me recently because I've done work on this block before and I thought that I'd come to a new place with it. And yeah, then I realized actually it was running the show. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about that, but I'll save that for later on. So let's start off with imagine. Imagine if it was possible that you could actually be resting more and earning more, having more money. What comes up for you? Imagine that you can work less hours than you are now and you could earn even more. You could have even more money flowing into your bank account. What comes up for you with that one? Imagine that you did not need to exchange your time for money at all. What does your brain say about that? And the final one. So imagine that you could get your money working for you instead of you working for it. How does your brain react to that scenario? So let me just recap there. The ability to rest more and earn more, working less than you are now, earning more than you are. So reducing your hours, not needing to exchange time for money, and getting your money to work for you, not you working for it. What does your brain say about that? If you've got a some kind of variation of the I have to work hard to earn money or money comes hard, then your brain will probably be freaking out. You'll probably have some resistance coming up. Your brain will probably be saying, no, that's a complete and utter load of BS. Let me know in the comments if that comes up for you. If you're watching this on Facebook, let me know in the comments. So if that sounds unbelievable to you, if it's like, oh, maybe I can imagine one thing happening, like maybe I could reduce my hours a little bit. Maybe I could stop selling all of my time for money. Maybe I could start selling a course. But what? Resting more and earning more? No. That indicates to me that there's some variation of this belief that is going on. And I want to encourage you to dig deep into your mind and find out what that is. What is your mind telling you? What story are you holding on to that is stopping you from embracing the idea that you don't have to work really, really hard for money? So, this can show up when you might find yourself setting a money goal, setting an intention, um, or even just dreaming, just sitting there dreaming. Maybe you're not making an active intention, an active goal, and making a plan to achieve that. But maybe you're just sitting there and kind of thinking, yeah, how nice would that be? Wouldn't it be great if this was possible? To have this kind of abundance levels in my life, to have this money in my bank account, to have this much in savings, to have some investments. Imagine. Maybe you're thinking like that. And then your brain tells you something like, well, you got to work more. And maybe you find yourself working more and more and more and more. Does it ever stop? So that is probably the obvious one. You're working harder and harder. So, that can be one way it shows up. The fact that you're getting really, really exhausted through your work as well. Sometimes we find that this belief shows up and will have us in scarcity mindset, like we've got to work hard for money. And maybe that there's not a lot of, other sources of income around. And so maybe you might take on more work, you might over deliver with your work. So if you're getting exhausted, it might be worth checking in as well. Is there any variation of this belief running the show right now? If you would love to increase your income, but there's a clear response from your brain, like you can't even fathom how that would be possible, working more hours than you are now. It's like, no way, I am full. That is not possible. Um, If any of your money goals, money intentions, money dreams just feel impossible because of how hard you would have to work for it, or maybe you're a type A, maybe you don't shy away from work, but maybe you find yourself driving yourself harder more and more and more and more because you have been so ingrained with the idea that money and success comes through hard work. Now, let's face it, this comes through society. This often comes through our family line as well. So you're not at fault for hanging on to any of these beliefs because they're so conditioned into us from such a young age and they're prevalent. We see it everywhere. In fact, if you're the type of person that consciously aims to cultivate some kind of variation of the more I rest, the more I earn, you're probably in the minority. You won't be, the average person walking around on the street because most people don't think like that when it comes to money. Now, this can be a real block with manifestation as well because it's like an unintended consequence of you creating that money goal. If you were to manifest that money into your life, if you were to manifest the clients, if you were to transform your business in the way you want to transform it, then there may be an unintended consequence running the show deep down in there that sabotages you. So if you're in a situation where you find yourself sabotaging your best efforts, it may also be worth looking at, is this a goal that's running the show for me? Because you might dream about how good it will be to have all this abundance, but if there's that belief deep down but if you actually got it, do you really want it? Because you would be working so hard. And then there could also be some unintended consequences that your mind kind of links up together with that. Like, well, maybe if I was working that hard, I would be not spending time with my family. I wouldn't be spending time with my friends. I wouldn't be spending time in my romantic relationship. So all of my relationships are going to suffer. My health will suffer because I won't be able to work out as much. I won't have the time to cook and eat well. Can you relate to any of this coming up? This is how in depth and ingrained this belief can be. I want to tell you a little bit of a story about how this came up for me recently because I was working with my tapping coach and I was talking to her about some of the things that I'm working towards. And I didn't know that we were going to go in this direction for this session. I had no idea. It was, even though I know all of this stuff about beliefs, it's like your human brain, when you're wearing a belief like this and it seems like your worldview, you just can't see it. It's a blind spot. This is why we need coaches. This is why we need other people to be able to look at what's going on in our lives and help us to get through these blocks. So she was, saying to me, "What's stopping you?" I was like, "I am just utterly exhausted." And I believed wholeheartedly it was completely my circumstances. I've got a small toddler. My partner works shift work, and I am also a working mum as well. So Maya goes to nursery some days she doesn't. So my life is kind of crazy. It feels kind of crazy sometimes. And then if things go wrong, it really goes wrong. So sometimes I feel like I'm just treading water. And I was like, I can't imagine doing more of this. There is literally no room. There is nothing more of me available. I am exhausted. And so we started tapping on that. And what started coming up was when I cast my mind forward into the future to think about the reality that I was creating. There was in my subconscious mind a story that if I was to take on more work in my business, then I would be busier. Then I would be more tired. Then I would be struggling more to find time to spend with Maya and Nick, my partner. And I was like, "Oh, wow." And the beautiful thing about coaching when you're coaching one-on-one with someone is that we can really go quite deep into that kind of visualization. So, she got me to really, really go there, like go into what would it actually be like? Let's actually elaborate on these fears. And I was like, I really don't want this. I'm a very visual person. I'm a visual learner. So I was seeing in my mind literally how exhausted I was getting and I wasn't able to hold it together. They were my deepest fears coming up. Now, I didn't know that this was running the show at this stage. And like I said, this is a belief that I have worked on before. I think the reason why this is coming up again, and I mentioned this yesterday in the tapping session as well, is that you can work on beliefs. And sometimes there's a different aspect to that belief that will come up because you have that conditioning deep down. And it's not like it can never go away, right? Like it's possible to completely transform that. But because my life has changed so much and I'm now a parent with a young child and I'm working as well, it's different. And like I've got less time. So then that fear that I have to work really hard for money and the stakes feel really high now. It's like it's time taken away from my daughter. That is a big sabotage. So it was a really, really good thing to work through. And I feel so much better from it. I really, really do. It is such a sneaky and sabotaging block because the thing is, when I worked through it, so I'm going to talk you through a process to work through this belief in a moment, and we'll talk about how you can use that. This is basically what we did. We got my belief out. I didn't write it down because I was in a one-on-one session with my coach. But if you're working through this for yourself, this is what I recommend: write it down, get it really clear on paper. What do you think it will happen? Like, maybe the belief that you hold is literally, I have to work hard for money. That's a really common one. Maybe there's some variation on those words. Get it down on paper, have a look at it. And then I want you to start poking holes in it. Is it really true? Ask yourself, is it really true? Is there anything else that's possible? Look at it from all different angles. I like to kind of imagine a prism. When you put a prism up to light, like a glass prism, and then it splits the light out into different colors. Have a think about what else is possible. What other perspectives are there that are available to you? Is it true that if this thing was to come into your life, that you would have less time, that you would not be taking care of yourself as much, that you would be affecting your relationships with people that you love in your life? Anything like that. Is any of that coming up for you? Maybe it's just a block around, I just simply don't want to live like that. I simply don't want to live committing so much time to doing that in order to create this goal. I used to have that one. That's the one that I worked through. So poke holes in it. Is it really true? What else is possible? And I want you to also then try on the complete opposite of that belief, which is something along the lines of, if you think you have to work hard for money, try on the belief that the more I rest, the more I earn. How does that feel? Does that feel good? Does that feel relieving? Does that feel lighter? If it does, then this is probably a good belief to start consciously creating in your mind on purpose. So try the opposite on for size. Maybe change the words a little bit. Find something that feels really, really good. Does it feel true? Does it feel possible? Even if you don't know the how, that's okay, because we're all about manifestation here. The universe is going to take care of the how. All you have to do is take the next step that you think might help you to create that vision, and then the universe will meet you halfway. And chances are something will come up that you had no idea was possible. And the rest of the journey will be illuminated for you. So try the opposite on for size. Start using that as an affirmation. And if this keeps on coming up, go to the tapping session that I mentioned. If you're in the Facebook community, have a look for the hashtag Tap Along Tuesdays, and it will be in there. So you can find it that way. It's a very easy way to search in the Facebook group for all the tapping sessions. So go and have a look for that tapping session and see if you can do some more tapping on it as well. If this is one of the ones you're a little bit like me, where it's quite, deeply ingrained and it kind of shows up in different ways in your life and it's a little bit unconscious, go back to it again and again and again. Keep doing it. See what more you can clear each time. It's a really, really powerful process. So I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I love talking about this one in particular because I think, as soon as we release that tension and that resistance around, I have to work really hard for this money, your mind just opens up to so many possibilities. It just feels so liberating to think, wow, imagine if I could work less and earn more. Imagine if I could get my money working for me so I no longer have to work for money. How cool would that be? This is the space that we want to get into with our manifestation, because at the end of the day, you have no idea what is possible in terms of how the money could come to you. There's so many different possibilities. All right. I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Let me know in the comments if you're watching along on Facebook, and I will be back tomorrow for another one of these sessions. Have a wonderful day. Bye.